Government has made a decision to postpone its plan for a second flight service for the island. Today, Honourable Premier Toke Talangi said it was a tough decision, but considerations of the risks needed to be addressed first.
The Minister, Macaulay, and I have always been very keen to get a second service into Niue. But as I also explained at the House and to Cabinet, really we need to determine whether a second service, even including the amount of funding that New Zealand was providing, would have been justified in terms of costs, and also to determine whether we have the services and accommodation here to enable us to make that service viable. Unfortunately, at this particular point in time, we won't have the accommodation to enable us to do that, and therefore we won't be able to get a second service this year as we had wanted. We'll be writing to the Minister today and advising him that, unfortunately, according to the costings and risk assessments that have been made by the officials that I have made responsible for doing that for us, and also after consulting the tourism office here, we've decided that the risks are too great, and therefore we thank him for his support, but we will not be looking at a second service this year. However, we've also indicated to him that we'd like to start the process of looking at a second service next year, because by that time we should have more accommodation available for us, so that we can start the process of negotiating with Air New Zealand very early, and so that we can start, if you like, the promotions and marketing much earlier than what we had anticipated this year. I think there was an element of risk also in terms of promotions and marketing. We were trying to capture a market at such short notice, and I thought it was a bit ambitious on our part to try to do that. But if we were to plan everything and start next year, say May, June, July and so on, hopefully that'll give us a better chance to utilise the second service better than what we are, and reduce the risk not just to New Zealand but to ourselves.
The plans for continuing discussions of the second flight will continue to the new year. A decision on the unused asset maintenance funds from this year's budget has been reached to utilise the remaining funds, says Honourable Premier Toke Talangi.
I suppose in some respects it was poor planning on our part, and also a lengthy decision making on their part. But at the end of the day, we had approval for the funds to be spent. We knew that we were allocated $1 million annually for asset maintenance and replacement. What we needed to do was to speed up the process of determining what our priorities are, determining which is going to be put into the list that was going to spend that $1 million and spend it. Unfortunately, last year we were a bit slow, and up until January, I think we've only spent about $100-something thousand. But as you know, we've speeded up the spending, and hopefully we'll be able to complete all those spends before the end of this financial year.
Priority, says Honourable Premier, has been identified on the disbursement of the rest of the funds.
It's going to be allocated according to the priorities that were set last year. And as I also said, we're setting the priorities early this year. We've already had about 2 meetings with the HODs to determine what are the priorities with respect to the maintenance of the buildings, maintenance and replacement of vehicles, as well as we're going to have another meeting to determine what the other priorities are for the other things that we need, like computers and so on. And hopefully we should be able to have a list and present it to New Zealand before the end of the financial year, so that they can give approval for those funds to be used at the beginning of the financial year, so we can begin early.
That is Honourable Premier Toke Talangi. At the end of last week, a member of the public found what seemed to be toxic material at Tawhalalo. Niue police are still trying to identify the substance in the barrel and have advised the public for more information. Today, Niue Police Representative Constable Hikitongia Poheke said the barrel of white substance was found by a member of the public and it appears to be toxic, but they cannot identify the content. He said the barrel is with the Crash Fire Department for safekeeping until they can receive more information. However, the police said if any member of the public can advise the police on what the substance is or how it arrived on the island, they can safely rid of the toxic waste. At present, they are still trying to contact the manufacturer in New Zealand. Niue has come a long way as Telecom Niue with the launch of their information communication technology project on Friday, taking Niue into the modern era with the benefits and advantages of modern communications. Director of Telecom Tutuli Haka said, "Connecting Niue is our business," and this was reflected in the specials that were on offer at the launch, an announcement of new services that include mobile phones and ASDL broadband internet, trying to get customers connected. In his formal address, Acting Premier Honourable Sipali said that ICT is the lifeline for the island as we move ahead with the rest of the world. Reliable communications is vital for people to stay in contact with each other. This is a sentiment shared by New Zealand government. It's relayed by their representative, New Zealand High Commissioner, His Excellency Mark Blumsky. That is money well spent with great potential for generating revenue from this project as well.
I think this is a big day for Niue because this was sort of like we've opened the door to the world officially. We now have communications. I mean, anywhere around the world we can talk to, we can text. My daughter's in England. I ring her on the mobile phone now. My Deputy High Commissioner texts to Tanzania. We've opened the door to the world. So the New Zealand aid program of $1.6 million, I think, has been very effective, and I think we're proud to have made the contribution. Well, I personally have I've been trialling the ADSL, and the internet is faster. You do get on those shopping sites a lot easier. My wife is finding that out. I'm very, very impressed with the texting. I literally have been texting my friends in New Zealand, and I find that a lot more easier for me to do and for them. In fact, they got a real surprise. For tourism, powerfully important that tourists can come here. They don't feel they're in the back end of nowhere. They feel they can communicate with people, that they want to come here knowing if something goes wrong, they can text or email. And it's those sort of services that we're sort of launching today, I think, that are incredibly important for tourism and for this island.
We caught up with one eager customer keen to get into the technological age.
Well, I thought it was about time I got into the technological age here, and I thought I'd just try and get into the mobile phone. So I've got this lovely pink phone. I didn't realise they came in other colours, but I've got a pink one. And Thule actually put all the bits in for me, so it should work. Well, I think it was an opportunity to find out what other services they're offering, really, and to find out what the different sorts of services are available and the cost, which is the next thing, of course. This is for when you're out and about, you really need to be in contact with people, so it'll be a plus, even a pink phone.
So what are you hoping to do with your brand new pink phone?
Well, as I go out and about with tour groups, you really need to be able to contact help if you need it, and we haven't been able to do that before with radio systems not always available. So we need a digital service that will work across the whole island, I hope.
In addition to the new services, that the launch was also an opportunity to showcase the brand new 2012 telephone directory that has a whole new modern look to it.
This is sharp. I think it looks really awesome. I haven't looked to see if my name is in it. It's what everyone does. They go and see if they can find their name in it. I haven't done that yet. No, I think they should be very proud. Telecom and the team can be very proud of this new directory. It's 20 times better than the previous older directory. It looks sharp, it looks more modern, and that's in line with where Telecom Niue are taking their business.
Telecom's aim is to provide every home on the island with a telephone and for people to have access to mobile phones and broadband internet. Food security and sustainability continues to be a focus of many discussions regionally and globally, and Niue's move to increase its capacity cannot be ignored. One village who decided to address the issue is Tuapa. The village was one of the villages funded by the UNDP for a pilot project and originally focused much on renewable energy and community sustainability, including food source. A year on, and some of the fruit of their labour has been consumed, shared and sold at the village's market days. Yesterday, a visit by New Zealand High Commissioner, His Excellency Mark Blumsky, highlighted the need for more development and focus on agricultural products and sustainable communities. His Excellency said he is impressed with the development and was happy to assist.
Well, this morning I've had the opportunity to come to Tuapa and come to their mixed crop meeting and then go visiting some of the plantations where the mixed crop is, where the mixed crops are growing. Very impressed at the work that people like Fisa and Valu are doing. Very impressed with the growth, the product. A lot of hard work. Big areas that they're doing by themselves, and you think, whoa. But I see the importance to the village of having a food source. I see the passion that some men like Fisa have to help develop a food source for the village, which is why I have a very small fund that I use to support villages like Tuapa to put together a sustainable plantation sort of mixed crop opportunity.
Some of the challenges has been the labour availability to assist with many projects, and he said these will need to be addressed if it is necessary to increase development.
I have a fund that the government gives me for me to distribute towards sustainable, woman-focused, environmental-focused projects. The Tuapa project ticks a lot of those boxes, so that is why my fund was used to help Tuapa. New Zealand Aid hasn't done a lot through the annual funding for Niue with food security. Could do, absolutely. If the government of Niue came to us with a food security project, there is absolutely no reason why we would not look at it. It's just, is it the priority? I think the bigger issue, and we talked about it this morning, and I have to say hats off to the Chamber of Commerce, because they're looking at it with the government of Niue very seriously, is labour market. I mean, you look at the work that one person does on a plantation or the farm that like Fisa, huge, 3 acres, big job, one man. What happens when he can't or has to stop? What happens? Who comes in and takes over? Many in the villages are saying to me that the young kids don't want to do farm work, not interested, too interested in the bright lights. So what happens to all of the farms, the plantations, when those older, wise heads that have been doing the work can't? We have to, I think, as a country, get our head around the labour market, and I know that the Chamber of Commerce and the government of Niue are looking at that, and there is someone coming up to have a good think about it in the next few weeks.
His Excellency said he applauds those that has continued efforts to develop local produce. And to end our news bulletin, last Saturday, the village of Hikutamaki hosted their 3rd annual show day, much to the delight of the village council, as this is the first show day for the year. Despite a few setbacks in the community, the desire is to move forward and find a way to bring the community together. This was reflected in sentiments from the village council and government officials present on the day. It was an overcast day with people up bright and early at the crack of dawn, setting up while the early birds were out for a bargain. Food was plentiful as stalls sold barbecue plates, umu food, fruit drinks, smoothies, goodies and more. However, the agricultural products were few in numbers, and the prizes for the fishing competition were also distributed on the day. There was also the odd mini golf game to entertain, but it was the cultural performances that many were keen to see. It was good to see the invitation extended by the village for those with Hikutamaki heritage to join in and be part of the community spirit was apparent with the turnout. The show concluded just before midday, and the hope is that next year's show will be bigger and better. The village and organizers are also thankful to all those who turned up to support the day, and also the many sponsors who contributed to prizes for the various events. That's our news bulletin for tonight. Good evening.